Hey, it is really early in the morning, and I am at it again. Don't look at my dead, majestic palm in the back there. I did the longest run of plants this year, in terms of plants being alive. I actually still have this guy still moving along. I think it needs some fertilizer, though. Some of the leaves are getting a little crazy. But anyway, um, so I got up at 5 a.m. on the dot. It's really weird. This has been happening a lot. I'm my internal clock's precision is like plus or minus 3 minutes. I've gotten up at 5 o'clock, 5:03, no alarm clock. I literally like I haven't shocked myself like this has happened already. And this morning I was shocked again. I was like, I wonder if it's time to get up. And I said, let me see what time it is. I pressed my phone, the power button, and it literally says 5 o'clock. It's crazy. I've been struggling for years trying to get my clock synced up like that where I don't need an alarm clock anymore because I struggle to get up in the morning. Not an issue anymore. I'm just really pumped up, motivated, and it's getting me up in the morning. Anyway, so I'm going to do a live stream for absolutely no one because everyone's still sleeping. And I'm developing some time management tools in Python. So one of the strategies that I'm employing right now is to, start developing actual products, right? Tutorials are nice, right? Get your feet wet, learn about different concepts, different ideas. But it's even better when you actually build something, especially when it's something that's can be useful to you. So this is basically my what's it called? Pomodoro, I think it's called. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. But it's a time management tool that I'm using to basically block out my time in terms of my work time versus my break time. And it's been working pretty good. It's got voice controls, so, um, or rather speech. I guess I can start it. So I'll start it again. I need to make some changes, but let's just start it up real quick. So here we go.
Enter task below.
So I need to choose a better voice engine or vocal engine or text to speech engine because this one sounds like date myself now. For those of you older folks, you remember Dr. Spatzo from Sound Blaster. So for those of you not familiar with Dr. Spatzo, I will just let you give you the context. Basically, what I'm saying when I say that is it literally sounds like text to speech or speech synthesis from 1993 or 94. Yeah, it's not an exaggeration. I'm not picking a date that's really old to sort of exaggerate or get the point across. I mean that literally. That's when I was using Dr. Spatzo, and it pretty much sounded just like this. You know what I mean? Which is interesting because it's 2018. However, I mean, for something that's just a free library that I just is it? I think yeah. So it's a free library that I downloaded. Um, so I guess that I can easily utilize by simply typing in text in my code. I think that's pretty cool. But anyway, there are better ones out there, and I will find one. So one problem I ran into is there's a bug in the code that apparently not even PyCharm, which I just got set up with PyCharm. I haven't used PyCharm in a while. I've been doing all of my coding in Vim, which is cool and all, but I think at this point when I'm starting to build more complex applications, I need to expand my horizons in terms of, just having a lot of the tools that make coding easier and more efficient that you get from an IDE. So I'm gonna try out PyCharm for now. I mean, I've used it before, but I'll be using it again for a little bit just to see whether I like it or not. But basically, I definitely want to start using an IDE. So there's a debugger in here, and the debugger was unable to um, identify any problems. And I'm not really sure what the issue is, but the way it presents itself is that I think there's a thread issue because when you go into a 20-minute time block where you're using a timer module from threading, it I think the problem comes from you exceeding the timer value. So it runs in 20 minutes, and I think initially it's fine, but at some point in time, I think if you just let it sit there, somehow it generates some kind of an exception. Let's see if I can show you. I'm not really sure what is the reason for that, but why doesn't it show the exception? Oh, there we go. So this is what I'm getting. So you can see here it says done for day. So that was me signing off yesterday. So I said done for day. Then it says press enter when task complete. So I basically tracked my sleep with it yesterday. And it only does 20-minute intervals. That's the longest interval that it has right now. So basically 20 minutes after I left the computer and went to bed, it would have, the timer would have triggered. So it would have been expecting me to sort of, come back and give like an after action report, on whatever I was working on. And obviously I would have been in bed, so that didn't happen. So the timer expired. It's waiting for me to enter something. I didn't enter anything. And then eventually it just spits this out, which is crazy. Now that I'm thinking about it, why would an application that doesn't, it's not a complex application like, a typical Windows based or GUI based application that has a lot of threads running in the background. So even if you're not doing anything, the application is always doing a lot of things in the background. So I could see that this scenario happening there because, again, there's a lot of things always happening. Any one of those things could fail, generating this kind of an error. But for a program that is this simple, that doesn't really do a bunch of things in the background, it's really, even though there's threading involved in here, it's really predominantly a single-threaded application. It does generally one thing at a time, right? Wait for user input, user enters a value, do something with that value. You know what I mean? Like it's step one, step two, step three. The only thing that's done in the background is the timer. But even during the timer, while the timer is running, nothing's happening. It's waiting for user input. So the timer's running, it's waiting for user input. So my point is, there aren't a lot of things running in the background to fail and cause an error. So I'm just thinking, methodically here, and for an application that doesn't do a lot of multitasking to generate on its own a exception, the only thing I can think of that would generate an exception like this would be the one thing that happens in the background on its own. Can you guys guess what that one thing might be? So I'm gonna take a close look at the threads, the timer threads. I'm gonna assume that one of them, when they trigger, it causes a failure. I'm pretty sure that's what it is, right? So the timer threads basically, after a certain point in time, they call an argument. I mean, they call a function, right? So I think it's that action that causes the problem. So it's not calling the function properly. And if you even look at the error message, you see it's giving you the .args, .quargs, right? And then it specifically is referencing a function. 5 minutes alert is one of my functions. Then look what it says. Takes exactly one argument, 0 given. So I think it's kind of basically telling you everything you need to know in terms of what the problem is. Now, if we look in PyCharm, so this part of the code is, so it says, press enter when task complete, right? Oh, it's not even the right code. Let's close that. Let's open the right project. All right, so okay. So this is what the program sort of sleeps on. I don't mean literally sleeps on, but this is a raw input, right? So it's gonna sort of wait for you to type something in. So just like I said, it doesn't do a lot of things in the background, right? So once it gets to this line, there's nothing to be done, right? Until you come back and press enter. So this starts a 20-minute block of time, right? So the timer thread is gonna wait for 20 minutes, right? So that's waiting for 20 minutes. And as far as the rest of the code, the only thing else going on is that this raw input is waiting for you to type something in. Now, you could wait for 100 years, it doesn't matter, right? Raw input, it's not doing anything. It's sitting there waiting for you to do something, right? So the only activity going on in the background would be these timer threads. So I'm thinking, and see, the times are different, right? So the first thing is the 5-minute warning, right? So that function gives you a 5-minute warning. Then you get a 1-minute warning. Then it tells you to take a break. Somewhere in the back of my mind, I'm thinking my theory might not be correct because I feel like the errors happen after you let the timer elapse and then you don't do anything. So if that's the case, that means that this has already executed successfully, this has already executed successfully, and so has this. So that means none of these are the problem. But if that's the case, then what is? So do we have any other function calls? After action report. So we initiate more timer threads, but that's after you hit enter though. Yeah, see this won't matter. problem exists, it has to be here, right? Because during the 20-minute block, while the timer threads are running, this is where the program's at. And it's sitting there, right? The whole time, the whole 20 minutes, it's sitting there. So if the error happens at minute 25 or 26, because like I said, it's you let it exceed the time, eventually the error pops up, then that would mean it is something here somehow. So I'm going to dig into it and see if I can figure out what this problem is. But I think it definitely looks like it's something very simple. I mean, look at what it's saying. It's saying 5 minutes alert takes exactly one argument, 0 given. So that suggests to me that 5 minutes alert is called without an argument somehow. So in theory, 5 minutes alert. We can grab this guy. This is fun doing this one-handed. Oh, there you go. Nice. Good program design. It automatically puts that text that's highlighted in the find box. I love that kind of stuff. Good design. So let's see all the instances of that. So there's a function definition. So 5 minutes alert is only, it's never called directly. It's part of another function. So say 5 minutes. So say 5 minutes is the only thing that specifically calls that. So that would mean say 5 minutes is called at some point without being given the delay argument. That's the only argument. Yeah, because it's saying 5 minutes alert takes one argument. So it expects a delay argument, right? And 5 minutes alert is only called by, say, 5 minutes. Say 5 minutes also takes an argument. And it takes that argument and passes it to 5 minutes alert. So it almost seems like the error is impossible because the only way to call 5 minutes alert in this code is using say 5 minutes. And say 5 minutes. So say 5 minutes is hard coded to send this argument to 5 minutes alert. However, the only way it can do that is if it's given an argument in the first place. So this function needs an argument in order to pass another function that same argument. So that means logically what this is suggesting is that at some point in time in the code, say 5 minutes is called and it's not given an argument. Which also doesn't make sense because the whole point of this argument is to pass this delay time to 5 minutes alert, right? I mean, to pass this delay time to the timer thread, which is going to start 5 minutes alert, right? So the point is, if you don't give a time at which for the thread to run, then how can the thread ever run? You know what I'm saying? Like you'd have to give it. You'd have to. It only accepts one argument. It's saying none were given. So if you haven't given a timer thread a time at which to execute, then how can it ever get to the point where it fails? You know what I mean? Like the minute you try to call this function to me without the argument, you should get the error right away, right? The thing is, the thought process before was that it was it's a timer thing, right? So at some point in time, as time goes along, I was thinking at the time that it was set to trigger, it fails. So it's set to trigger in 2 minutes, and at a 2 minute point or 2 minute and 1 second or whatever it is, it tries to do what it's supposed to do, but then it fails. But if it's not given a time, right? Because it's saying no argument. If it's not given a time to trigger, then what is it doing for all this period of time? You know what I mean? Like the minute you get to that part of the code, it should choke right then and there. So I don't understand what, let's see. So as long as say 5 minutes is always given an argument, then so will 5 minutes alert be given an argument. So let's see if we can find all the instances of say 5 minutes. So say 5 minutes given a 900 argument, and that's it. That's the only time it's ever called. So I don't know. Maybe there's a limit on how many of these you can utilize, because I'm starting 3 of them at the same time. So I don't know. I need to put down this phone and focus on figuring this out. But what I'm gonna do obviously is I'm gonna decrease these timers to like 10 seconds or something, so I can iterate through this quickly and see, you know, what's happening. So I'll do things like I'll disable one of these, you know, maybe the first one, the second one, just try to isolate where the problem is actually coming from. So I'll do it by the process of elimination. I have 3 times here where you're calling 2 different functions. The problem is probably one of these. So I eliminate 2. And if it's still failing, it's probably that one, right? So then I eliminate that one, bring back these 2. Problem goes away. Then we know for a fact that it's this one. So then we have something to focus on. Like this clearly is the issue. So why is it the issue? Because right now I don't know which one's the issue. I just kind of have a zone. Like it's somewhere here is where the problem is coming from. But there's a few things going on here. Any one of these things could be a problem. I mean, obviously it's going to be one of these timer threaded functions. So that means it's say 5 minutes 900, say in time 1170, or it's say in time 1200. It's got to be one of those. Logically, I should run this through the Python debugger as well. I don't know how much better that's going to be than PyCharm's debugger. I don't know how PyCharm's debugger works, but I'll do that as well. Anyway, guys, this is how I'm starting my Sunday morning. I am back at it again with the Python. 5 a.m. in the morning. Anyway. Coffee. I'm good, but I should get some coffee so I don't end up, because I only got, according to my application, how much sleep? I had the logs open. I think it was 6. Was it 6 hours? Did I really get 6 hours? That's an improvement. That's an improvement. Like, wow, 6 hours. I got 6 hours. Anyway, 6 hours. Isn't there like a gun that? Anyway, all right, guys. Look at that. Dead. Dead. There's my majestic palm. Looks just like my application here. All right, guys. Shout out to my CPU squad. Learning should always be fun. This is not fun. Nah, I love a challenge. I love, you know, figuring these things out, getting it done, and then the joy from fixing it and moving forward and making it better. Um, and I love this process of that I'm actually using this program to actually help me do other programs. And by doing so, I'm making it better because every time I use it, I think of like, whoa, it'd be better if I did X, Y, and Z. Oh, I don't like that. Like I'm tweaking it, I'm making it better by actually using it. So anyway, guys, this video was brought to you by all that dust, man. Jeez Louise. Man. This video was brought to you by Kinesis, Advantage 2,
many millions of dollars,
and Samsung, and Key. Guys, this is what happens when you do a video at 5 in the morning. This is how it comes out. So learn from my mistakes. Don't do videos this early in the morning before you're fully woken up. Actually, I'm normally this ridiculous. So it can't be that I'm doing this so early. I think it's just that I'm not as funny as I think I am. Wow. I need to take some time to reflect on my life.